Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I'm very excited to have another special guest. My guest today is actor Todd Bridges, who played the character of Josh in the season 6 episode The Stray and the season 7 episode The Illusion, when he had by then been adopted by Verdi and Harley Foster. Please welcome Todd Bridges. Yeah, I don't even, I don't know how long it's been, but it's so great to see you.
Well, I know that I'm pretty old now.
You just had a birthday.
Yes, I just turned 59.
Yeah, well, I will always be older than you if it's any consolation.
Oh.
I turned 66 this year, so tell me.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
It just moves fast, doesn't it?
It does. I know. There we were, young children.
Yep, exactly.
We go back a minute or two. Yeah, because
Oh yeah.
Do you remember how old you were when you did the first episode of The Waltons?
Yeah, because I think I was 10. I was 10. Yeah,
Okay.
so.
But you'd already been acting for a while.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was on Fish, and same time then I also was on I did Little House before that too.
Ah.
A bunch of movies, yeah, commercials.
Yeah. So how did all that start for you?
When I was 5 years old, I just wanted to be in show business, and I told my mom that I wanted to be like Red Fox. And the interesting part about it was I got a show that ended up owning Sanford & Son. So I was able to do that also, which was great. I was able to meet, Red Fox, which was my idol. That's why I got in TV. I was able to meet him, and he was a really nice guy.
Cool. Well, that's great. Yeah. Well, clearly, I mean, looking at your resume, I mean, you just worked and worked.
Oh yeah. But the business is so different now. Oh my gosh. It is not the same.
I don't even understand it anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's not about talent anymore. It's not at all. It's not about that. It's about who's the most popular person. That's what it's about.
Who's got the biggest social media following.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, that doesn't make long-term movies or long-term shows when you do that.
Mm.
When you look at the older TV shows, the reason why the older TV shows are becoming very popular today, because they were well made. If you look at the new ones, you're like, it's more like the comedy shows are more of setup joke instead of situational comedy. Mm. And I think that takes away from what it should be.
Yeah, and I love when, like our show, as I've been looking back at it, how much humor they managed to infuse in a show that was basically a drama. And I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, that show was definitely a drama. I remember my one line from that show where I said, I got a fish hook in my foot. I think I said that.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Hiding.
How'd you hurt yourself?
I got a fish hook in my foot.
Come on.
Because I was hiding underneath the thing, which is really funny.
Yeah. What do you remember about doing? You did 2 episodes, and then you obviously went on to do your series, and so they recast your role. Unfortunately, we lost you to a better offer.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what usually happens.
Nice when that's the reason why you don't come back.
Yes.
So what do you remember about it at that age? And coming,
I think everyone was so nice is what I remember. And I remember the teacher on the set, he had a shark egg inside of the fish tank.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was waiting for it to hatch. Your teacher was really into coolness. He was a cool teacher. That's what I remember. He was a really cool teacher.
He came in after I graduated, so I really didn't interact with him. Yeah, because I had the first 3 years I was in high school. I was finishing high school, and I was gone. But the younger ones who worked with him, and they just talked about all these amazing science projects.
The shark egg was the great thing. He had a shark egg in there. That was amazing.
Yeah. And they said they had a dark room. Willie Ames was talking about that when he was then still on the lot working on 8 is Enough, that he'd come over to use the dark room. And how cool was that?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Questions about the, how the education was for those of us getting educated on set. And I think I got a better education during those years than.
Yeah, I think because it was more one-on-one, you really couldn't fool around or, do what you want to do. You couldn't really talk in class because the teacher's always right there, so
and you
it
couldn't
was a lot
cheat
different.
Nobody else was in the same grade doing the same thing.
That was always the same problem. That was always the problem. You couldn't cheat either because everybody was in totally different grades. I think like even Dana was in a higher grade than I was. Dana was in a higher grade than I was. So I was in a lower grade. But I took 11th and 12th grade the same year to get out. So it was great.
I graduated 6 months early to get to.
Yeah, I graduated a year early.
School. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Well, I went to hang out with all my friends. I wanted because that's when you could go to people's schools and hang out. You know what I mean? You can't do that anymore. They would never let that happen. But back then, you can go sit in the classroom as long as you did the work. Teacher didn't care.
Really?
Yeah, so wow. I'd go and do work that I've already done a million times, and I just do it over. I sit there and just do it and not talk, and then go have lunch with them, and hang out. So,
well, that's cool. Well, you had with your other series with Diff'rent Strokes, there were other young people, so you weren't. Yeah. I think it would be tough being the only child.
Oh, it would definitely be tough. I think to be the only kid on the show. Then you go do school, and then. But the fun part about it was, I'll tell you what happened, though. I did a movie called High School USA with Michael J. Fox and all those people. And I had just turned 18. And I thought that 5 hours, I'm gone. And they were like, no, you're here all day and all night. And I was like, what? After I remember I woke up on a Saturday. That's when they didn't shoot on Saturdays. Remember when you shot Monday through Friday and no Saturdays or Sundays?
Yeah.
And I remember I woke up on a Saturday and I'm thinking I was late and I'm jumping up and I'm getting dressed and people are like, where are you going? I'm like, I got to go to work. I'm late. And they're like, no, you're not. It's Saturday. I'm like, oh. So then I went back to bed.
Yeah.
But little did we know now they shoot 6 days a week,
Do they on series or?
Some shows they do. They shoot 6 days a week on some shows.
Wow.
Just how it is. Like those, because it was a reason why I found out from Keen Ivory Wayne's why it was Damon Wayne's why he quit that show. He said they were shooting 16-hour days Monday through Saturday. He said he was just not too much for him. That's a lot. 16-hour days. That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they still union-wise, they still have the 12-hour turnaround.
Yeah.
But I'm when I was up in Canada and working on various just doing guest things on shows up there, and I remember I did an episode of a show called Millennium that Lance Henriksen.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was working on like a Friday, and they said as the week went on, their call time, they just kept starting later and later in the day because they'd work late. And so then to give them the 10-hour turnaround, and Lance was in almost everything. So they'd have to, instead of a 6 o'clock call time, there'd be an 8 o'clock call time. And then it would just keep, because when I worked, it was night stuff. And I mean, my call time was like just before their dinner break to get ready. And then it was probably 10 o'clock before I actually was on set, and I probably worked till about 2. And
that's hard. I don't think I could do that anymore. That's late hours. I don't think I can handle anymore. I mean, 10:30, I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm in bed, ready to go.
I had a 3-year-old or 2.5-year-old at the time.
Oh man.
So managing, babysitters and stuff, because I was a single parent a lot of the time. And, so it's like, who can, fortunately my next door neighbor would, she's like, okay, I'll take him, and don't worry about getting him back when you get home. I'll return him to you in the morning. We were next door neighbors. So, but if I had a really early 6 a.m. call, I'd have to get somebody to come sleep over so that I could 5 in the morning to drive across town to, to location at 6 in the morning. So it.
But I mean, you still look amazing. I mean, it's been a while, but you look amazing. Who else have I seen from that? I haven't seen anyone else, I don't think, from that show.
Maybe just on, there a lot of them are on Facebook and stuff like that. And we still do reunion stuff. That hence why I'm kind of doing this channel. There's still so much interest in the series. So during COVID, I thought, well, I'll reach out to. I can't go out and in Interact. I was supposed to try to film, and that got shelved. And then, I was kind of going, here we are sitting at home. So I just thought I'd start a channel and see where it went. And
it's like just when everything gets going, something drastic happens. It's like,
right, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was like, I was, I sold my, a reboot of Diff'rent Strokes. They were going to reboot it.
Oh, wow.
And I was going to be married to either Kim Fields or somebody else, Tootie, that played Tootie in Facts of Life. And we, the maid we had on our show, she has 2 grandchildren who she can't take care of because she's a little bit too old to take care of these young kids. And then we were going to adopt them. So we're going to reverse Diff'rent Strokes. Everything's set to go. And all of a sudden, bam, COVID. And then try to get back into it. And bam, the strike. We're like, forget it. It's like everything's out the door. And now it's interesting because all my friends that I talk to, I think usually there's over 250 new TV shows. There was only like 30 this year. It was like hardly any. So things really went bad because of that, went sour,
Yeah, trying to get everything up and rebooted. And probably a lot of stuff didn't, as you experienced, didn't make it through the downtime. So now they're probably starting new stuff, new process.
Oh, yeah. I've had a few weird incidents happen to me. Like one time we sold My Life Story. We sold that and signed the deal with Showtime and all that. And then all of a sudden, the president gets fired. And then everything changes. That happens a lot. I think it happened twice to us on different things. That happens a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing a combo now of producing and acting and
and streaming,
writing and directing as well.
Yeah, we're just now getting into writing and directing. Me and my brother are. So he's the more technical side of it. I usually work with the actors, so it's a lot easier that way.
Cool. When you were young, I mean, was it just? Did you have coaching or anything, or were you? I mean, you were so
good. My mom was my teacher. My mom was.
Okay.
She taught me how to act.
Okay.
But I had drama down really, really to a science. But what I found out is if you can do drama, comedy's easy. It's very, very easy.
Really?
That's what I found out. But it's not the other way around. That's why you have to major in drama first before you do comedy. So if you start out in comedy, it's very difficult for people to do drama after that. They have a tough time doing it.
So how do you then approach comedy from your drama training? Why? It's
just timing. Mm-hmm. Comedy is just timing. That's all it is. Knowing when to say something, how to say it, and when to deliver it. And that's the same thing to me doing drama is just knowing how to touch people's souls and get inside them and pull out what you need from them. And I think it's the same thing with comedy. Okay, I'll give you a good example is Robert De Niro is hilarious in comedy. He's hilarious in comedy. Robin Williams was great in drama and comedy.
Yeah.
But there's a few people, I won't mention their names. They're great comedians, but not good at drama because they started in comedy. They didn't start. They went right to comedy. Didn't start in drama first. You got to be a dramatic actor first.
Yeah.
I believe that. I believe that gives you the chops to do comedy, I think, a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, a perfect example in our show was John Ritter, who started off as a very serious minister.
That's right. And then he went to comedy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hysterical, Yeah. But I mean, I rewatched your first episode recently and I just you were so good. You know?
My mom taught me all that. She taught me all that.
Yeah.
And you have to, and I've always dragged a little bit from my past, you know what I mean? You drag up some stuff that you have that maybe bothers you and you use that to circumvent into your acting. So.
Yeah. And did you get, of course, Lyn Hamilton and Hal Williams technically then became your adoptive parents, but you got to work a bit with Lyn, but you really didn't get to work with Hal, did you?
No, but I knew Hal very well. I knew both of them very well. The thing about us Black people in this business, we all knew each other very well because it was a small circle. It wasn't very big. You know, I remember when I started, you can count the Black people on your hand of how many of us was in the business. It wasn't a lot of us. So, and I think at the time that I started working a lot, Kim Fields started working a lot too. So I knew her because we did a lot of stuff before she was on Facts Live, before I was on Diff'rent Strokes. We did a lot of other stuff together. And we were always doing shows together at different places, you know? So So we kind of understood that going into it. Like Hal was great, but so was Lyn. They all were great actors. And I knew them from a bunch of different kind of stuff that especially when we were doing, like, we were going to parties together. Like back then, we weren't invited to too many of the other parties. That's the real crazy part. We were invited, but mainly to the black parties, we were definitely invited to all the time. I knew Sammy Davis Jr. really well. And I met a lot of people through Sammy. So, and Lena Horne I knew very well too.
Wow. So how did, in terms of the work, I mean, the story, The Waltons was a period show. So of course we were addressing that issue of segregation and everything within there, and why the Waltons couldn't keep you, so to speak. What did, you were young when you were doing those sorts of things. How was that for you? I mean, was that something you were experiencing in life? I mean, we were kind of a little past that theoretically, and in LA theoretically. So
well, no, we were completely past it in San Francisco.
Okay,
that's where I'm from.
Okay,
LA was a culture shocker. I never experienced the kind of racism I did in I didn't experience any in San Francisco. We had friends of every color. We just, the police officers were really nice people. I was the first person to start talking about how bad police were in LA. And at the time, nobody believed me, thought it was just me. But then they look back and go, oh my God, he's been telling us this the whole time about how bad they were. So at the time on the show, I was experiencing a lot of different type of racism. And because we moved from Baldwin Hills, we were in Culver City, from Culver City to Baldwin Hills, and from Baldwin Hills to the San Fernando Valley. And I remember my brother just told me this like 10 years ago too. We used to ride our bikes through Culver City all the time to go fishing at Venice Beach. And then one time the police pulled us over, and then we had to start going a different way. And then I finally remembered that a couple of years ago, and I asked my brother, why did we go a different way? He goes, because the police told us we can't come through there anymore. We have to go around it.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was so, and I remember my really first chance experiencing it was my mom. We bought a house. We were going to buy a house. She talked to him on the phone. We were going to buy a house in Culver City, and my mom's credit was perfect. We had the money and all that. And we went to the real estate office, and I remember she saying, oh, that house is sold, and we don't have any more houses for sale in this area. But we knew right away. We're like, okay. So what my mom did, which was really funny, my mom had her friend, who was a white friend, go and buy the house. So we got the house anyway.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Well, what's really crazy was I didn't even know what the N-word meant. And we were in Culver City walking to football practice, and these guys drove by and called us. We were with our friend David Avina. He was a Spanish guy. We're with him. And these people walked by and called us the N-word driving by. And we were just walking. My brother and my friend goes, aren't you guys upset at that? We're like, no, it means an ignorant person. That's not us. We know how to read and write. He goes, that's not what it means. And then we were like, whoa. Then we found out it was different. So
wow,
it was a culture shock, totally, completely on from there.
Huh. But did you find, or have you throughout your career found that a lot of this, have you done much work where it was really about, about being Black or a Black experience or something? I mean, on the Waltons, we had those storylines and that storyline, and a lot of, I mean, I loved that, Lyn and Hal, that they were just friends of the family, but we couldn't go to church together, but we could do other things together. And so we I loved that our producers, sort of were working to make it, normalize it more, or really kind of show a little bit of what the experience with, or we had Cleavon Little did an episode, and as a boxer, trying to go back and help his neighborhood by winning money. And so we had those kinds of stories. And
we grew up with Cleavon Little, so I knew him very well too. My mom went to acting school with him.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a great
he was
guy.
In The Homecoming, that was our pilot.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, he was the minister. He's hysterical. Okay. And, it's, he was so good. And then he came and did an episode of the series. And I mean, I guess as actors, we recreate a lot of incidents in life. Yeah. And some are depicting good things and good outcomes, and some aren't. So, you know, I know you had a chance to be part of Roots as well, which was just such a phenomenon at the time. And it was, I think, really the first legitimate mini series.
Oh yeah. And that's when I really learned about racism. That I had no idea until I did that too.
You didn't know your history, huh?
No, because it really wasn't around us. It really wasn't around us. We had friends of every color. Our best friends were, you know, were white. So we didn't know. We had everybody around us. So, you know, we had every race, different countries around us all the time. So we had no idea. And it was after Roots, I was like, wow, that really happened. And then to start experiencing it for myself firsthand was just completely different.
Yeah.
And that's why
Ralph Waite played a slave owner in.
Yeah, oh, I remember that. Yes, I remember that. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, I do. I definitely remember that.
Yeah. I think some of our Walton fans were a little like shocked.
I'm sure. Like, yeah.
John Walton's being a bad man.
He was good in that too, though. He was actually good in that. But everyone, and that's what I mean about having the good actors. And I remember this is so funny about Roots too. I'll tell you the funniest thing about Roots was they ran out of black kids having in that show. So at one point I was a lead actor and I even did a extra role because they were like, we don't have enough kids for this scene. So they're like, get the dress tied up like kid, put on my hat, put them way out there so we can't tell who it is. That's what I definitely am, you know, I was having fun, you know, and it's just, it was pretty funny. Every black actor at that time in Hollywood was in Roots. There was like none to spare. Everybody was in Roots. Wow. John Amos was in Roots, you know, he was in Roots too. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of where LeVar, you know, kind of came into major prominence and stuff.
Yep.
You know, I crossed paths with him here and there, and he just seemed like such a lovely.
He's a great guy. Everyone was wonderful in that. Everybody was great. So it was a fun series to do. It was, but it taught us a lot of history.
I want to thank Todd very much for being my guest here and for sharing about his time on the Waltons, his life, his other work, and just for being an overall wonderful person. Thanks, Todd. I'll see you next time for more behind the scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.